welcome back everyone. All right, so let's take a look at what HTML5 is. So HTML5 is the next step in web development. There has been a whole bunch of iterations of HTML, HTML1, 2, 3, and 4. And 4 was updated more than a decade ago, and that's quite a long time since 4 and 5. Especially between 3 and 4, it wasn't nearly as long. The goal of HTML5 is to create a standard web experience, meaning that if you're going to view something on a tablet or a computer or wherever you're going to view this website, it's going to be the same. Now, before HTML5 came out, this wasn't currently possible. And the reason is that simple stuff like video and audio was not included in HTML4. So what this meant is that if you remember when we started learning HTML, you have a paragraph tag, you have a header tag, but you don't have a video tag or an audio tag. So in order to view video and audio, you'd have to get a third-party plugin like Flash or something like that to go and play it. And the reason for this is just it wasn't included, and it was a bit of a security thing in the reason why. But now we can definitely just view video and audio very simply with HTML5. The cool things that you can do with HTML5 are video, audio, drag and drop, geolocation, vector graphics and animations, and there's a whole bunch more. Now, I should probably point out at this point that when you view stuff on different devices, for example, if you're viewing this on a computer or an iPhone or iOS device or an Android, these are completely different environments. And what HTML5 plans to do is it plans to make that the experience seamless, meaning that if you view it on your iOS device, it will be the same as your computer or your Android device. And the reason why this is a little bit challenging is that iOS and Android and your computer work on extremely different, they work on different architectures, and mobile devices, which weren't around in HTML4, at least the way we know it today, have extremely limited resources, meaning that the architecture on these devices, need a whole bunch more work behind it to make everything work. All right, I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Welcome back, everyone. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some HTML5 tags and why HTML5 tags are important. So you've probably heard of HTML5 before, and you're probably thinking it's this really complicated new process that the web is going to be adopting, but it's really not that hard once you think of it from once you take a step back and think about it. So the first thing is that if you remember HTML, we have tags, for example, paragraph tags, header tags, any kind of tag that you have. And all that HTML5 really is we're adding in different tags, and we're also adding in some JavaScript functionality. That's another portion of HTML5 that, does happen, and we'll be working with a little bit of this as well. So again, with JavaScript, there's a lot more functionality being added, and there's a whole bunch of other JavaScript libraries that are being added so that you can have a lot of functionality within a web browser that you couldn't have before. And if you're into HTML5 games, a lot of it's just JavaScript based anyway. So let's talk a little bit about some HTML5 tags. So the first one is a video tag, and the video tag, again, if you remember the HTML portion, if you have a paragraph tag, you have an opening tag and a closing tag, and then you put the source in between. Well, that's exactly what a video tag is, and an audio tag is as well. It has this functionality already built into it, and it's actually quite cool. The canvas is a way to draw graphics, and it's a different way of drawing graphics. It's a little bit more dynamic, meaning that if you're going to draw, let's say, something like an image or a color in HTML4, in HTML5, you get way more functionality, and it's actually really cool what you can do with the canvas. Now, an SVG tag is scalable vector graphics. So first things we need to talk about vector graphics are, and then we're going to talk about why they're so important. So the first thing is that vector graphics are graphics where they are drawn in a computer. So what that means is that when you draw, let's say, a house in a vector format, you can scale that house to be very, very small, or very large, the size of a mural, and you're not going to lose any definition. Whereas if you, let's say, had a picture of a house, you scale it down and it gets pixelated, and that means you lose some definition. And then if you scale it up, it also gets pixelated, and you also lose some definition as well. So vector graphics are drawn into the computer, and some programs that already do vector graphics are, let's say, Adobe Flash, Illustrator, and Inkscape. And again, they draw them right in the computer, meaning that you can go and play around with it, and you can scale it as much as you want. So that's why it's called scalable vector graphics, because again, let's say you had a really detailed Victorian house drawn in a vector graphics. You can scale that up to the size of your whole screen, or you can scale it down to an icon, and you're not going to lose any definition. It's actually really cool. Now, this has some incredibly awesome possibilities for pretty much anything anything graphic related on the internet, especially games. If you're into vector graphics, games are actually really dependent on vector graphics. And in all the games that I make, I try to use vector graphics. And then what I do is I rasterize them, meaning that they put them into a format of a certain size. That's what you have to do. But in the future, I'm hoping I can just put whatever I'm using in Adobe Illustrator right onto the web, and I can scale it as big as I want or as small as I want. And I think that's actually really cool. Another tag is the article tag, which is essentially kind of like a paragraph tag, but for articles. And the last one is a nav tag, and the nav tag works with navigation points. And it's actually quite cool what you can do with it. Now, again, stuff in HTML is actually really easy to work with. If we were to work with nav tags with something on an iOS, which is the Apple operating system for iPhone and iPad, it's actually quite hard to do navigation points. It can be actually quite difficult to add that functionality in. But in HTML5, it's actually quite easy. All right. So these are some of the tags that you can use in HTML5. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff we can do. Now, again, there's the tags, but one thing that HTML5 is doing is that they are coupling a lot of the functionality that you do within the tags, for example, these new tags here, and JavaScript. All right, I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.